Another day, another opportunity to make money on sports. Welcome into another episode of the Butt Fumble Sports pregame show for baseball, NHL, NBA. Everything you guys need to know about the action today. We're going to go through some of the best betting opportunities using Outlier. We love Outlier here at Butt Fumble Sports. They provide a great tool. Going to jump right into it right now. So if you guys don't know about it, make sure you go check it out. Outlier is the place to go. We're going to look at some of the MLB action. I obviously put out some of the blogs that we put out are the best hitter-pitcher matchups of the day, but there are also some great player prop bets that you want to look at. We're going to look at those over the next hour or so. So make sure you guys settle in. If you got comments, questions, if there are particular bets that you want to look at, throw those in the chat. We're here for all of it. So if you've got questions about the NBA, MLB, NHL, we're here to answer all of your questions, which games to bet, which players to bet. We're here for all of it. Appreciate you coming in, though. I'm going to do my research so I can be ready for the action tonight. Looking at some of the action, I've been really into Zach Gallen over the last few weeks. He's pitched really well. Interesting, though. This is why I love Outlier. He's been pitching so well, but this trend says that the under 6.5 strikeouts may be a good play. I have him in a number of DFS lineups thinking he's going to do well. Maybe I should reconsider those. That under 6.5 is a really interesting bet. A lot of people think Gallen is a great pick right now, but Gallen may be someone, given these trends, you may want to fade a little bit. He's going to be in a lot of DFS lineups. So if you want to go the opposite way, you want to fade the public, maybe taking someone else in your starting rotation for DFS and maybe taking this under. This is an interesting underplay. It's at plus money, obviously. He's pitched so well of late. I was going in the other direction. Definitely a bet I like is the Blue Jays on the money line. In my own research last night, I found that was a great bet. Outlier confirms that. Blue Jays 16-3 over their last 19 after a loss to the Red Sox. You're getting them at minus 130 on DraftKings thanks to your connection with Outlier. It's a great bet. I love it. Kikuchi is on the mound. He pitches really well against the Boston Red Sox. And the Blue Jays lineup is loaded. I know they're facing Tanner Houck, who's one of the better starters for the Red Sox, but I still have a lot of confidence in the fact that the Blue Jays are going to put up some runs in that game. So another good bet to play. This is an interesting one on this money line here. For the Angels against the Cardinals. I have this game spotlighted as an overplay in my bets that I put out last night. But interesting that the Angels are 1-4 on the road off a win over their last 5. Diving into that game a little bit more, you can see Steven Matz doesn't have any stats, but I looked at the stats he has against the hitters on that side, against the LA hitters, and Rendon has a great track record against him, as well as Hunter Renfroe. Both of those guys are in my DFS lineups today. If you guys have questions about your DFS lineups, feel free to put them in the chat. We're here to help everyone get their DFS lineups loaded up and ready for tonight's MLB action. And of course, if you're looking away from baseball and you're looking towards some of the NBA playoff games, we'll look at those as well. Miami Heat have a 1-0 lead over the Knicks, Game 2, in just about 2 hours, with the Lakers facing the Warriors in Game 1 later tonight at 10. For this Miami Knicks game, what's interesting to me is the health of Jimmy Butler's ankle. I expect that he'll play, but how limited is he going to be, especially given that he is the offensive focus? I know Kyle Lowry had a good Game 1, but Lowry, can I really expect that he's going to play that well in Game 2? Especially the fact that Thibodeau is now aware of Jimmy Butler's health. He's going to shift the defensive focus towards getting the ball out of Lowry's hands, maybe focusing more attention on Bam Adebayo. So for a number of reasons, I really like the Knicks tonight. Obviously, minus 127, minus 275 isn't a great bet. I'd actually like to take this in-game. I'm going to wait until first quarter, second quarter, see if there's an opportunity where the Heat maybe go on a run, get that money a little bit closer to, let's say, minus 180. I really don't like it at minus 275, just a bit too high for me. The Knicks, 7.5, I don't really like. I think Vegas set that right appropriately. I feel like Knicks 5, I feel good about, but 7.5 feels a little funny because you're getting down to end of game free throws, and I don't think it's going to be a Knicks blowout unless Jimmy Butler's ankle significantly limits him, and I just don't see that being the case. There's no reports of him actually being sidelined to the extent where that would be a real problem. As for that Lakers-Warriors game, that's going to be an awesome series. I can't wait for it. But I think the Warriors tonight are not just a great play on the money line. I like them on the spread. I think the spread's a decent play for the 4.5. I feel good about the Warriors. Maybe I'm overlooking the Lakers a little bit because the Grizzlies were wounded. They had injuries. And maybe that's why I'm discounting their series win over the Memphis Grizzlies. But for so many reasons, it feels like the Golden State Warriors are just entering into this playoff zone that they get into both mentally and physically, and they just deliver. Whether it is a single player like Steph Curry or whether it's a unit, sometimes you see it as a team, but I think the Warriors in that game, I think that's a comfortable spread. That 4 points, I feel like they're going to win by 6 or 7. I feel comfortable about that. I feel better about the Warriors in a blowout than I do in the Knicks in a blowout. I think both games will be relatively close throughout, but eventually I feel like the shooting of the Warriors is going to get to the Lakers. The Lakers as an overall team, they've gotten much better defensively, but I think they're just going to get blown up. Unfortunately, the light isn't bright enough for some of you. I wish I could make it brighter, but unfortunately, that's the best I can do at the moment. Maybe that a little bit better. Appreciate all of you guys joining us. Hope you're having a wonderful evening. We're getting ready for some MLB, NBA, and NHL action. So if you have questions, if there are any bets that you're curious about making, we're here for all of it. There are no the games today in the NHL. Florida Panthers, Maple Leafs, a series that has two teams coming off Game 7s. Obviously, the Toronto Maple Leafs haven't made it to a round 2 in forever, while the Florida Panthers are coming off the high of beating the Bruins. I'm really interested to know which team's able to carry the momentum of the last series into this Game 1. My expectation is that the Florida Panthers will do a better job of that. The Toronto Maple Leafs have not been to this round before, so they haven't been able to really understand what they're about to go through. Where the Florida Panthers, once again, the Florida Panthers are the underdog. I think people are overlooking them. I think people are rooting against them. And I think this Florida team is very dangerous right now because like you see so often in the NHL playoffs, a team gets in a zone, a goaltender gets in a zone, and there's a belief that starts to build. Right now, the Florida Panthers are a hot, dangerous team, and I think the Toronto Maple Leafs, they got lucky in a lot of ways. I know that they probably should have won that first series a bit more handily, but the fact that they didn't show some vulnerability where the Panthers really stunned. Panthers are hot right now for a lot of reasons. I like Panthers on the plus 1.5 goal, the puck line. I really like that bet. That's one I would lean towards betting right now, actually. Let's take a look at the trends on that one. I mean, obviously really solid. Just you've had these 6-2, 4-2, but that was early in that Bruins series. They've been really hot of late. Do I really think that they're going to lose by 2 goals? I don't. I'm going to add that one to my picks. Like that one. If you like finding the best bets around, check out Outlier. It's a great place to go find bets. Whether it's trends, stats, everything that you need, Outlier is a great place so that you're not going with the herd, you're not going with the public, but you're really finding the best bet. And that's what we're looking for here at Butt Fumble Sports. We're looking for the best betting opportunities, the things that the rest of the public, other casual bettors may not be finding. I feel like that's a great bet tonight. Shifting from the NHL, I want to get back into the MLB. In our research last night, we put out some games that we really like in our betting plays of the day. Yankees on the money line, Blue Jays on the money line, and the over in the Angels and Cardinals game. Obviously, the reason we like the Yankees, it's a Garrett Cole night for so many reasons. We love when Garrett Cole's on the mound. And you look lower ERA against Cleveland than he does against average teams. Tick down when it comes to the strikeouts. The only hitter in the lineup that really hits him well is Jose Ramirez. We didn't put him in any DFS lineups only because we don't think there's going to be enough production around Jose Ramirez, but he is the one hitter in that Cleveland Guardians lineup that hits Garrett Cole well. As for the Yankees, they're going to be facing Tanner Beebe, who's an unknown. I've never liked betting on too many or inserting too many guys into a DFS lineup who are facing a rookie. You don't have any history. You haven't seen a lot of tape on them. So for a number of reasons, I like to avoid those hitters. In one DFS lineup, I think I did slide Anthony Volpe in there just because I was hoping he would get the combination of steals and maybe a run scored, whether by walk or by hit. But that was the only Yankee I kind of had my eye on tonight. Other than that, avoiding them for the most part. Stepping back out, again, one of the games that I was interested in tonight was the Blue Jays against the Red Sox. Minus 130 for the Blue Jays, plus 115 for the Red Sox. Red Sox have been hot of late, but that said, Blue Jays, I feel good about them tonight and placing that bet. And here's the reason. I really like this because Kikuchi has pitched really well against the Red Sox in his history. There you see his averaged ERA in 2022, much lower against the Red Sox. Again, tick down when it comes to strikeouts. That's because it's a talented offense, just like with Cleveland against Garrett Cole. Good contact hitters, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily driving in runs. So I like Kikuchi. I have him in a number of DFS lineups. The three pitchers that I really loaded up tonight in DFS are Garrett Cole, Zach Gallen, and I really like Kikuchi. They're the ones I'm really interested in. Appreciate all of you guys joining us. Make sure you guys are following us. Hit that follow button, Butt Fumble Sports. I mentioned the three games that we really like tonight in baseball were Yankees on the money line, Blue Jays on the money line, and the other one was that over in the Angels-Cardinals game. Let's check out that over. You're seeing it's minus 112. The fact that under is getting plus 100 doesn't make me feel great right now, but let's take a look at the trends towards it. One of the things I like to look at is the line movement. It's dipped between 9 and 8.5 since it opened. Been back and forth on the over-under on these guys. I do like to see what higher odds are getting. 10 runs plus 160 isn't terrible. Because I think there's a chance these two teams could score a number of runs. Steven Matz against a couple hitters in the Angels order has struggled. Anthony Rendon, Hunter Renfroe, two right-handed hitters who have hit Steven Matz really well in their career, and because they've had opportunities to be in the National League, have seen him at times maybe more frequently than the rest of the Angel hitters. Mike Trout doesn't have great numbers, but given that you give him enough at-bats against a left-handed pitcher, I'm going to feel good about it. I feel like the Angels could score 4, 5, 6 runs in this game. As for the Cardinals are facing Patrick Sandoval. Sandoval, left-handed pitcher. Let me go check some Fangraphs right now. Curious to know which team has done the best against left-handed pitching so far this year. If you have questions, we have answers. All your betting questions. I'm checking some research. I want to see which teams have done the best against left-handed pitching this year. Let's go. Split leaders. I want to look at a team, and then I'm going to look at against left-handed pitching, and they're on the road, I believe. Yeah, they're on the road. So we'll check them out on the road so far. And there you see, Angels. Maybe that's because it's an alphabetical order. Let's check out their average. Okay. 10th in batting average against left-handed pitching when they're on the road. Only 3 home runs. That surprises me. You got to feel like that's going to go up. That's a number I look to, like, talk about outliers. Which stat, that feels low. They have a number of right-handed hitters with power. I would expect they can get a couple home runs tonight. They only have 3 home runs against left-handed pitching on the road so far this year. That feels like a number that could go up tonight. I'm always surprised that the Angels don't steal more bases. That's something that always disappoints me. Okay, Jorge is asking about the Knicks -7. Let's go check that out. Jorge, we got you going. Let's go check out Knicks -7. So you're getting them at -7. Spread right now is 7.5. I mentioned earlier, to me, it's all about the health of Jimmy Butler's ankle. And that concerns me a little bit because I feel like he's actually going to be in better shape than people think. He's had 2 days now to really recover. And I feel like it's going to be, again, a 1990s kind of NBA matchup where it's going to be more physical, more intense, and therefore I like the Heat covering the 7.5. I don't feel like it's going to be a Knicks blowout because I don't feel like that the Heat play that kind of game. I don't feel like the Heat can get blown out the same way that the Knicks could. The Knicks could get blown out as we saw against the Cavs, but I feel like the Heat play a very tough physical game. They're very smart. One of the things I don't think gets talked about enough is the role of Eric Spoelstra and how important that he is. So Jorge, to your question in the chat, I like the Knicks on the money line, but I like the Heat to cover the 7.5. You're asking about Knicks at 7. If I'm going to take the Knicks, it would be like at 5. That's where I would want that. But the 7, I feel like the Heat are a good cover on the 7.5. Appreciate all you guys joining us. We're looking into some of the best betting opportunities tonight, whether it's NBA, NHL, or MLB. We're using our Outlier app. So if you've got questions, we've got answers. Just looking into some of the best bets of the night. We were looking at the Knicks just now. We also just checked out some of the MLB plays, who to put in our DFS lineups, what games we like, what opportunities maybe to hit an over and under. So if you've got questions, throw them in the chat. We're here for it. Butt Fumble Sports, make sure you hit the link in our bio, buttfumblesports.com. It'll take you right to our website. We put out picks, DFS lineups, and a lot of rants every single day across a wide variety of sports. So hit that link in our bio, takes you right to our website, buttfumblesports.com. So going back and looking at this matchup a little bit more, I wanted to check out the over-under as well in this game. By the way, looking at the injury, game time decision, yeah, Butler wants to play in game 2, which is another way of saying Jimmy Butler's going to play in game 2. And again, there are some players that I'm concerned about when it comes to health or if they got hurt. I'm not at all when it comes to Jimmy Butler. He's someone who I know is going to dog it out. What's interesting about this spread, though, it has shifted in favor of the Knicks, and I feel like that's a bad sign for bettors. We talk about line movement a lot. Not a good sign if you're a bettor. So I want to shift this over. Here we go. So you can see if you're watching on the screen, Jorge, not a great trend right here. The line movement is really moving in favor of the Knicks. If I'm going against the public, it tells me the Heat on the cover is a good play. I think way too many people think they see that close game in game 1 and then immediately assume, oh, the Knicks are going to blow them out because it's Madison Square Garden and they're going to get loud. I feel like for a lot of reasons, this is going to be a challenge here. Blease, you're absolutely right. Great analytics. You can find it on Outlier. It's a great place to go find bets and a lot of analytics. So if you guys don't just want to go with the public and just kind of be a sheep amongst the herd, go check out Outlier. It's a great sports betting app for everyone who really wants to know how to bet wisely. Jorge had another question in there. LA Golden State over 227. So in my own research, I had... By the way, last night when I put my picks together, Knicks money line, Miami +7, and the under in that game. And then for Lakers Golden State, Lakers Warriors, I had Golden State -4.5. I like the Warriors to cover, and I like the under in that game. I like the under, at least according to the research I did. Let's check out Outlier to see if I got that right. So Outlier, we can go to our app. Over under set at 227. Right now it's -109 on both sides. Wow. Okay. So I was looking at the under when I was placing my picks last night. Here's part of the reason. You look at the Lakers, under in 4 of their last 5. Warriors, under in 3 of their last 5. Head to head, under all 3 times. Something to keep an eye on. So for Jorge, who just asked, those trends really show that the under is a strong play. Obviously, we know that there's going to be a lot of shooting, but that 227 I think is a little bit higher than what these two teams are actually going to hit. Keep in mind the familiarity these two teams have with one another. LeBron James's knowledge of the Golden State Warriors in this case, I think, is a benefit towards the under. I think he'll be able to help his kind of quarterback or defensive, be a defensive coordinator and help his team kind of understand some of the back cuts, some of the screening, some of the things that the Warriors want to do to try to get their offense going. So maybe another reason to look towards the under. Angel asked about Lakers on the money line. I liked Golden State on the money line. I like Golden State to cover. Warriors are so good at home, and I think absolutely that's going to be, that trend will continue through this series. I think Golden State plays well against the Lakers in Golden State. So for a number of reasons, I like the Warriors at home. I actually like them to cover tonight. If you have questions about which games to bet, which player prop bets are the best, throw those questions in the chat. Happy to do the research. But Fumble Sports is here doing all the work for you so we can give you the best bets, and that way you can cash some tickets and put some money in your pocket. We're talking betting for another half hour, 45 minutes or so. So if you have your questions, make sure you throw them in the chat. But Fumble Sports, again, is here for all your betting questions. We just covered the 2 NBA games tonight. As I mentioned a moment ago, the bets that I really like tonight are Miami to cover. The fact that that's now gone up to the +7.5, I like it. I took it at 7 last night. I do like Knicks on the money line, but I wouldn't bet that at -275. The only way I would do that is a parlay, maybe take Knicks in the under. I feel like defense, especially with Jimmy Butler's ankle, I do feel like defense is going to be the way of this game. It's going to be more physical. The only way I could see the over going off is if the Miami Heat three-point shooters, accompanying cast of Strauss and others, if they go off from 3, Duncan Robinson, but I like the under in this one. I think it's going to be a very tactical game between Tibbs and Eric Spoelstra, a very physical game. I think both teams are going to want to wear each other down. I think the Heat, now that they have a lead, want to kind of erode the defense and pound some of who I bet they think guys they can take advantage of. Watch if Randall plays tonight, if the Heat can try and use Bam Adebayo to kind of, again, wear him down over the course of the series. And as for the Knicks, the fact that Jimmy Butler's hurt, I think that the Heat see an opportunity here, the Knicks see an opportunity to try to wear down the Heat, and that way, even if they get down in the series, they can ultimately come back later on. So this is a really pivotal game, too. If the Heat can steal 2 games in Madison Square Garden, I think a lot of people will think the series is over. I'm not going to go that far. I think the Knicks have a lot of fight in them, but this is a pivotal game for the Knicks in terms of determining how close this series is going to be once we get to a game 6, and that's going to be the ultimate factor there. We looked into that game just a moment ago. Jorge, what's the word on Julius Randle? Let's check that out. I haven't heard anything yet on Julius Randle. Julius Randle. He's questionable is all we're hearing so far, Randall. One of the things we can do is we can go into this outlier app. I can check out the injury news. We talked about Jimmy Butler earlier. Wow, Jalen Brunson, by the way, right ankle soreness, game time decision. I wasn't aware of that. Julius Randle, game time decision on a left ankle sprain. The fact that the kind of star power that we've seen throughout the playoffs, the injuries we've seen to stars, but this series also has it, so keep your eye on it. More reasons to like the under, Jorge. A lot of reasons to like the under in that series. By the way, let me shift you guys over there. You can see the injuries. Jimmy Butler, game time decision. Fully expect him to play. Jalen Brunson, though, that right ankle soreness, that's just concerning. He's so important to what the Knicks offense does. And given that they found a great strategy against him in game one, using kind of a wall, suffocating him. Every time he tried to drive into the paint, he was facing 3-4 bodies. And I feel like the Heat have really found something against Brunson. And they're more comfortable. If I think Spoelstra says to himself, I'd rather let R.J. Barrett try and beat me, and I'm going to challenge his confidence than Jalen Brunson. Because I think Eric Spoelstra knows that Brunson is a dog, where R.J. Barrett, he can have moments where he can fade a little bit. He doesn't always have the same level of confidence. Jorge's asking about some NHL plays. Let's check it out, Jorge. Let's look at our NHL opportunities. I talked about earlier how I liked Florida plus 1.5 here. We looked at that trend, felt really strong, especially in favor of, you look towards the minus 1.5. That's not a strong play in terms of Toronto. So that's actually one thing you want to look at sometimes, is not just how your plus 1.5 does, but how the minus 1.5 is doing on the other side. The Toronto minus 1.5, really poorly over the last few games. A lot of reasons to think this game's going to be tight. The only way I could see it going, to the 2 goals is if you get really unlucky at the end and you get a open net goal. But the Florida Panthers already proved in that game 7 against the Boston Bruins that they can score goals with the empty net, and they're not scared by it. They defend well even with the empty net. So a lot of reasons to believe that this is going to be a 1-goal game, or the Florida Panthers could just outright win it. So Jorge, if I did have any NHL bets, it would be Florida plus 1.5. One of the reasons I like that Florida plus 1.5 too is that minus 160, that's okay. I think when I get odds that are like minus 175 and better, that's where I feel okay taking that bet. If you've got questions about which games to bet or which player prop bets to put out there, make sure you throw your questions in the chat. Butt Fumble Sports is here to answer all of your sports betting questions. We're here for all of it, so make sure you throw your questions in the chat. The other game tonight is the Kraken against the Stars. Kraken coming off that thrilling Game 7 win against the Avalanche, where the Stars, I don't even remember who they beat in the first series. Admittedly, I have not followed the Western Conference of the playoffs. Oh, they beat Minnesota. Didn't even remember that series. Sorry, Dallas Star fans, but I definitely overlooked that Minnesota Wild Dallas Star series. That was not on my watching docket. Right now, remaining in the playoffs for those who are like me and maybe forgetting who's in there, the Kraken face Dallas in a matchup of 2 versus a wild card seed. Vegas Knights play the Edmonton Oilers. That is a series I'm really excited about. I think Edmonton's going to win. I really want to see Connor McDavid go to a cup. He's definitely emerged as the superstar of the era. So the New Jersey Devils had that great win last night against the New York Rangers, and they advanced to play the Carolina Panthers. And the Toronto Maple Leafs are playing the Florida Panthers in a game that we talked about opens up tonight. That is a game that I definitely like, is Florida plus 1.5 on the puck line. Dallas and Kraken, I'm not too crazy about betting that. Again, the fact that I don't know too much about the two teams is reason enough to avoid it. Looking at the head-to-head. . Okay. I mean, the only thing that's notable is the line movement, but that just suggests the public's been coming down on it. So I'm going to avoid this game. Don't really have a strong sense of it. Jorge, we love player props. So if you've got questions about which player props we want to look into, we can. We can look into the NBA player props. Definitely something we're more than happy to do. We're using the Outlier app. Outlier is just a great place to find these kinds of bets. But Fumble Sports is a place that is always trying to find the smartest way of finding good bets. We're not about brands. You know, sometimes people get kind of caught up in brand names like a Steph Curry or a LeBron James, a Lakers. That's not what we try to do. We're trying to find the best bets. And the way to do that is through research, looking at trends, trying to be as analytical as possible. Outlier is a great place to do it. You don't go with the herd. You're not just going with the public. You're finding the best betting opportunities. And then you're finding a sports book that offers it at a good price. So here are some of the props, player props, Jorge, for the games tonight. I'm just on the Miami Knicks game. The Miami Heat Knicks game. Huh. So here's one that I'm really interested in. Strus is an interesting one to me because that's 16.5 points and rebounds. You have to feel like, especially with Jimmy Butler's ankle, they're going to be relying on him for three-point shooting. So the points may be closer to like 12, maybe even 14, and then you're in pretty good shape. That's not a terrible bet. Minus 154. Wish that I was getting that at minus 135 if I'm being honest. Jorge's asking about Looney AD over 26.5 rebounds. Oh, that's an interesting one. Let's check it out. Let's go. Let's check out rebounds. And I'm just going to look at them individually. Anthony Davis rebounds. They're setting at over under 12, 12.5. So Jorge, your rebounds over under is 26.5. That's tough. Because I could see him getting that double-double. I could see him getting... The question is how many shots are going in at a certain point. He's exceeded 11.5 rebounds in 11 of his last 13 games. So we love the over on that. You really got to believe just by how they're placing the odds, how Vegas is doing it. 13, 14, that's kind of where he's going to end up. Now let's check out Looney. If you're saying it's 26.5, you're getting about half of that from Anthony Davis. You hope it's about half. Now let's check. Let's go check Looney now. So we said about anywhere from like 12 to 14 rebounds. They've got it about 12.5. Let's check out Looney here. I mean, he's had some monster games, and that's what's skewing this so dramatically. But rebounds, again, they're setting it a tick lower. Personally, I feel like the under's the better play. See, Jorge, realistically, I can see them both getting 14, but actually I think the problem is I think there's going to be some shot making in this series. And so we're taking the stats from the Grizzlies and from the Sacramento Kings, and while the Kings have a good offense, they shoot the ball a lot, which means there are a lot of misses. I think the Golden State Warriors are going to be more efficient shooting the basketball, which means less rebounds for Anthony Davis than what the Grizzlies were doing. And I get the sense that the Lakers may be more efficient than what Sacramento was. So for a number of reasons, I would take the under 26.5 rebounds between the two. I'm more than happy to be on the other side of this one with you, and we can circle back on it tomorrow when we have another show. Speaking of which, we do have a show tomorrow. I believe it's going to be at 12 noon tomorrow. So make sure you're with us. Make sure you're hitting that follow button. That way you're with us at 12 tomorrow when we're back live for 2 hours of pregame show to talk about MLB betting and NBA betting tomorrow. But Jorge, for a number of reasons, I like the under on that 26.5. I just think that, again, to my reasoning, I think it's the shot making of the two teams that's going to be in vogue. So I like the under on that, and I think I do think both of them are going to get over 10 rebounds, but I wouldn't be surprised if they end up with like 10, 11 each, and not the monster games that we've seen over the last week. Appreciate all of you guys joining us. Make sure you're following Butt Fumble Sports for all of our content, sports betting action. You can go hit that link in our bio. Takes you right to our website, buttfumblesports.com. That way you can check out all of our content all in one place. Jorge is saying Jimmy is out. Are we getting confirmation of that? Jimmy Butler is out? Let's dial up Twitter. What are we hearing? Is Jimmy Butler officially out? This is why we have a live betting show, so we can cover. Yes, he is. Breaking news. Jimmy Butler is out for game 2. Jorge, thank you for the heads up. That's going to change a lot of things. He players getting bumped. Yeah, exactly. This is why that Strus 12 and what was that, 16.5 rebounds plus points could be a good play. Really says a lot, though. I'm surprised that he's out, but I think it's Spoelstra being smart and understanding that you already stole one game in New York. Not nearly as important to steal the second one if you don't have Jimmy Butler for the remainder of the series. So get him off the floor, get him 100% healthy. Much like the 76ers. Interesting that both teams in the Eastern Conference have a star player that's out, and yet they hold a 1-0 series lead. And these now head coaches, Doc Rivers and Eric Spoelstra, can be really cautious, really smart, put their teams in positions to succeed, not for game 2 necessarily, but games 3 through 7. So Jorge, number of reasons to now look towards some of these prop bets on the other side. By the way, here, Bam Adebayo, first quarter points, 4.5. You got to like the over now. Where are they getting their points from? So a number of these bets all of a sudden feel much better to me. 30.5 rebounds. That seemed crazy. There's some that seem crazy. By the way, one of the things I love about this Outlier app, and if you're not aware of it, go check out Outlier. We put out a link in our on Twitter earlier today. We will again in a little bit. Here, let me send that out right now so you guys can all check that out. So anyways, the reason we love Outlier is I can find hot trending plays as well. Great thing that you can do is find just good trending plays. Definitely something that is worth your time is going to Outlier and checking out some of these best plays. Give me 1 second. I'm going to tweet this out right now so all of you guys have this link. So guys, I just tweeted out the link to Outlier. Go check it out right now. It's a great place to find all the best trends, data, analytics, everything that you need so you can feel like a quant for sports betting. I know a lot of people put in a lot of time and research. And then there are a lot of other people who don't have that, that kind of availability in their schedule. They got work. They got to go pay the bills, but they like sports betting when they have the opportunity to. This is a great way to do all that research, find all this information, and find bets that are going to cash all in one place. We're looking at it now. LeBron James on steals, the under 1.5. Surprised, actually. Would have thought that would go the other way. One of the reasons why you want to check out this app, you can find great trends like that. This is a great bet. I mean, I'm not going to take it at minus 235, but something to keep an eye on. Really interesting. Miami on the spread. Obviously, we feel a little bit differently about that now, though. Now that Jimmy Butler is out. Here's an interesting one. LeBron James three-pointers under 2.5. That's a really interesting one. I kind of like the under on this one as well, simply because I feel like the Warriors are going to be wise to LeBron James trying to hit those deep threes. I feel like they're going to press him a little bit. I think they're going to be okay giving up LeBron James two-pointers, giving up some of the points in the paint. But I think the Lakers with 2 points compared to the Warriors' three-point shooting, that's where the Warriors want to play this series. So under 2.5 3-pointers for LeBron James is a really interesting bet. I'm going to put that one in my cart right now. Jorge, as a Heat fan, frustrated by the inconsistency of Bam. Jorge, how many points do you think Bam's going to have tonight? Throw them in the chat. How many points do you think Bam Adebayo is going to have tonight? Lakers 4-1 against the spread versus the Warriors in their last 5 off 2 days of rest. Another interesting bet. Jalen Brunson under 3.5 3-pointers. Wow, LeBron James over 22.5 points. Love that, but the minus 245 don't love. Definitely feel like that's going to happen. We talked about this a moment ago. Anthony Davis over 11.5 rebounds. We really like that. Jorge and I were going back and forth about that. Jorge, how many points do you think Bam Adebayo is going to get in this game tonight? Anthony Davis steals under 1.5 steals. That's been a really hot play. Steph Curry has failed to exceed 31.5 points in 19 of his last 28 games. You don't feel good about that, though, because there's that giant red that came off that 50-point game they just had. Jalen Brunson on blocks. Minus 479 on blocks. I'd be curious to know what the plus money is on that. On Jalen Brunson, a block is plus 300. That's where you need a friend who's a scorekeeper at an NBA game just to give you a gift. Already you can see some bets, some odds and opportunities are coming in for bets on the Celtics 76ers game that's tomorrow night. We're going to be covering that in our show tomorrow afternoon. So if you want to bet that 76ers Celtics game, we definitely want to wait to see if the health of anybody changes, just like it did tonight for Jimmy Butler. Again, announcing that Jimmy Butler is out for tonight's game. So if you had Knicks on something under 7.5, might want to jump on it because that line's going to move, I'm sure, within the next, hour and a half. Appreciate all of you joining us. We have about 15 minutes left of our show. Make sure you hit that follow button, Butt Fumble Sports. We're here to talk sports, sports betting, fantasy sports. If you have questions about DFS, we talked about this earlier. Plenty of opportunities to get in on some good DFS plays today. I went through some of the hitters that I really like. If you want to see hitters who have really favorable matchups today against the pitchers that they're facing, hit the link in our bio. It takes you right to our website, buttfumblesports.com. Every day we put out a list of the hitters who have the best matchups of the day, given their history against the pitchers that they'll be facing. Elliot Robinson, good to see you. You're asking if Brunson is playing. So we're still waiting on word about Brunson. I haven't heard anything official. We obviously got the Jimmy Butler news. From what I heard, game time decision about Brunson, but we'll keep our ear to the grindstone on that, Elliot. But when it comes to MLB and NBA, obviously we like Knicks on the money line. I also like Golden State on the money line. The only way I would bet the Knicks on the money line at this point it would be to take a parlay. I like Knicks on money line and the under in that game. I might parlay those two. I also like Knicks and Golden State, so maybe parlay those two on the money line. I'm taking the over in the Golden State. Let me double check that actually. No, I'm taking the under in the Golden State Lakers game. Taking the under in that game. So, those would be the NBA plays that I like. So, one more time to go through that, Elliot, for the NBA plays. I like Knicks on the money line, and I like the under in that game. And I like the Warriors on the money line. I actually like Warriors to cover 4.5 as well, and I like the under in that game. So 2 unders tonight. Don't think we're going to see the kind of offense that we saw yesterday from the Celtics and 76ers. As for the MLB, we were going through it. My MLB bets that I really like today, I mentioned these earlier. You can check these out on our website, buttfumblesports.com. The link is in our bio. I like the Yankees on the money line. They have Garrett Cole on the mound. He's been dominant of late, especially at home. Garrett Cole at home this season, 3-0 in 27 innings, and 0.33 ERA, just 1 run allowed at home this year. He's been outstanding. So in DFS lineups, make sure you have Garrett Cole in there. And then, of course, betting tonight. Maybe you want to take some cross-sport action. Maybe take Yankees on the money line and Knicks on the money line. Some New York parlay action. Definitely something that I'd be interested in doing. We get off the air in about 15 minutes. That's actually a bet that I'm going to put down. It's a little New York, Frank Sinatra. Don't you love it? It's New York Yankees on the money line and Knicks on the money line. Let's see what I'm getting my favorite sports book to give me that at. Knicks. Where are the Yankees? The Yankees. Okay, let's see. I'm putting down a $5 bet. $4.70. Not bad. Let's do it. New York. How do you like it? Appreciate all of you guys joining us. Make sure you're following us. Hit that follow button, Butt Fumble Sports, here for all of your sports betting questions in action. Elliot, we're going to get to your MLB questions a moment ago. I like Yankees on the money line. I like Toronto on the money line as well. I also like the over in the Angels and Cardinals game. Those are the 3 plays that I really like. We did our research on those last night, and the trends seem to be in that favor. Hope all of you are having a great day, great afternoon. If you have any questions, make sure you throw them in the chat. Elliot, we're going to go through some of these other great bets that you can find in MLB tonight. Interesting that the over hitting 4 of the last 4 games versus the Braves in 2023. Man, tomorrow I like the Braves and the Marlins under. Interesting that that's been a hot overplay. Mentioned this earlier, Zach Gallen. The fact that the trend is actually suggesting the under is the play is really interesting. If, as a member of the public, I just assume the over. Gallen's been pitching so well, but the trends say otherwise. Under 6.5 is an interesting bet for this one. Yordan Alvarez. Man, interesting that he struggled at home to get 2 hits. Wouldn't have expected that. Again, another way in which you go, if you're the public, you think one thing, but once you get into the trends, it says something else. I mentioned a moment ago a money line play I love tonight are the Toronto Blue Jays. Kikuchi is on the mound for them. He has been lights out against the Red Sox hitters in his career. The hitters that the Red Sox have in their lineup tonight are about 150 batting average lifetime against him with no runs scored, 4 walks, 11 strikeouts. So Blue Jays coming off a loss last night. I like them to bounce back and win. I'm getting Toronto at minus 130 on DraftKings. Definitely a good bet for me. Looking at some of the other bets, Angels, we talked about St. Louis is a good money line play. Mentioned that earlier. Mets, good money line play. Again, not surprising. These are the kind of things we'd expect. Astros, good money line play. Xander Bogaerts getting a hit. No surprise there. The over. Matt Olson, he's been red hot. Like the over on that. Kansas City Royals, not surprised. You take a lot of these, though, are more obvious plays in terms of the team money line bets. And the over has been a hot play in the Texas Rangers. Who are the Rangers playing tonight? The Rangers are playing... Yeah, they're playing the Diamondbacks. That's Gallen. So Gallen against Gray. The over-under set at 8 runs. This is saying, well, at DraftKings, you can get it at 7.5. No head-to-head history here. Wish I had some to go off of. The line movement, really kind of stayed, it's fluctuated a little bit, 7.5, 8. That overplay clearly is something to keep your eye on. It's been a best bet trend. Make sure you guys hit that follow button, Butt Fumble Sports, here to answer all of your sports betting questions, all your fantasy questions, all your DFS questions, even when we hop off. So we're going to get off in just a few minutes and go get some dinner. But afterwards, make sure you join us. We're going to have an NFL show at 7, so make sure you join us then. But of course, you can always check us out on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Butt Fumble Sports is the place to get all your great sports content, whether it's betting, fantasy, or just ranting. We were looking at some of these player props for MLB. This is just a great, one of the reasons I love Outlier is I can find so many of these great bets, these great plays. And then I can find the best place to place that bet. Yoshida, bases, over 1.5. He's facing Kikuchi. A couple of Japanese pitchers going head-to-head here in the United States. You can see I can get some good odds on this. Plus 140 is a great bet for that because Yoshida has been red hot. I think he's hitting something like 420, 427 over his last 14 games. By the way, Shaq just came out and said he thinks that Steph Curry is the GOAT. Yeah, I agree with you. When Harden went off last night, yeah. But Shaq just came out and he says that he thinks that Steph Curry is the GOAT point guard of all time. I think I agree, but Magic Johnson? And so I'm kind of asking those who are in the chat, who do you think is the greatest point guard of all time? Steph Curry, Magic Johnson? I want to say Steph Curry, but I'm catching myself because is that recency bias? Am I being too millennial? Because Magic was brilliant. And Magic, by point guard standards, I feel like the real thing to say is Magic's the greatest point guard of all time because he was a true facilitator. Yeah, he could score, obviously, but he was the greatest passer of all time. Where Steph Curry is the greatest shooter of all time. Is he the greatest point guard of all time? It's tough. It's tough. I feel like being the greatest shooter of all time is enough. Yeah, you love them both, so you don't really have to, this isn't an either or. It can be both, obviously. They're both great point guards, but it's interesting that Shaq comes out, makes that kind of statement. By the way, the Inside the NBA crew on TNT are the most entertaining. I know everyone already knows that. We've seen it for decades, but I'm always reminded during the NBA playoffs when I really watch them, especially when I'm doing work late at night. They are just incredibly entertaining. They're just fun. They're funny. And I love that they're not always fake about the relationships. Like Shaq and Chuck will get on each other's nerves sometimes. And it is hilarious to me because you see that it could pop off and then you see it diffuse itself immediately. It's just as entertaining a show on sports as there is out there. So Inside the NBA, we're of course big fans of it. Anyway, getting back to some of these great player prop bets that we have across MLB tonight. I had my eye on a couple of the players in that Angels-Cardinals game. I want to look up what Renfroe, or Rendon is another one. Hits, runs, RBIs, 1.5, based off of the starting pitcher. He has a great history against Steven Matz in his career. So that would be a bet that I would take if I'm putting money down. So I have him in a number of DFS lineups. Anthony Rendon has had 31 at-bats against Steven Matz, 10 hits, 323 batting average. Of the 10 hits, Anthony Rendon has 4 home runs against Steven Matz, 7 RBIs. Only issue, he struck out 12 times. So Rendon against Steven Matz is very much a boom or bust kind of play, but I like it. Given the money I could get, Anthony Rendon to get a home run, it's Anthony Rendon hits plus RBIs plus runs, 1.5. I would take the over. Over at minus 120. I know the trends say one thing, but this is one of those times where I'm going to go with how he has done against the starting pitcher rather than what the trends have been over the last few days. Let's check out Hunter Renfroe. Walks, bases. See, this is another one. Hits, runs, RBIs, minus 110. In his career against Steven Matz, Renfroe, 3 for 8, 375 average, 2 doubles, 2 walks, and only 1 strikeout. It hasn't been a great play, though. He's just not producing. Hunter Renfroe. Good hitter. Not doing enough sometimes, though. I feel like whenever a talented player goes to the Angels, there's just an immediate drop-off. Angels can't get anything right. Appreciate all of you guys joining us. Make sure you're hitting that follow button. Make sure you're following Butt Fumble Sports. That way you know every time we go live. We're going to hop off in just a couple of minutes and get some dinner, but we will be back at 7 o'clock to talk NFL. We have our weekly NFL show at 7. We will go through everything around the NFL draft, our reactions, who won, who lost, and I'm not just talking about the teams, but the players themselves, who came out ahead from the draft. We will do that at 7 o'clock, and for all those who love our sports betting content, you can find us Wednesday at 12 noon. That's Wednesday, May 3rd at 12 noon. We will be back on TikTok Live and on YouTube going through all the MLB, NBA, and NHL action for Wednesday night. That way, if you want to place your bets, you get all the best information possible. We'll be using our Outlier app to make those bets. So make sure you follow us, Butt Fumble Sports. You can hit that follow button. Of course, hit the link in our bio. Go to buttfumblesports.com. Check out all of our content, written blogs. Check out our betting picks, DFS plays, everything that you need as a sports fan. That's what Butt Fumble Sports is here to serve the sports fan. So make sure you're hitting that follow button and make sure you're hitting that link in our bio. Again, we'll be back at 7 o'clock. All of those who have joined us tonight, we had a lot of fun talking sports for an hour, and we will be back tomorrow. So for those who are joining us at 7, you'll be ready for a lot of NFL action. For everyone else, we'll see you tomorrow at noon. See you, everybody.